What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Ruts. In this episode, we have a ton of things to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Memphis Grizzlies. And guys, I am absolutely pumped up about the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Hold on a second. All right, let's try that again. I'm absolutely pumped up about the Memphis Grizzlies. Had to put the shirt on. The Memphis Grizzlies really surprising the world right now. Hold on. Forgot to do something. Real quick before we start this video and before we start running up the score, I need you all to go down below and run up that like button. All right, now that all that's out of the way, I am so pumped up about today's episode. We have so many things to talk about, starting with the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to be talking about the Washington Wizards scuffle today between their own team. Going to be talking about things like the Chicago Bulls blowout, the big game from the Pelicans, big shot from Brandon Ingram. We're also going to be talking about Kyrie Irving with the potential of coming back for home games. And the possibility of Paul George being out for the season. So we have a huge episode today. Make sure you leave a like and stick through to the end. All right, starting with the first game of the day that I want to talk about, obviously, as I've said already several times, is the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Grizzlies have been sitting at the 4 seed now for a long time. They actually have a sizable lead on the 5 seed, but the world's eyes really haven't been opened up to the Memphis Grizzlies until last night. Now, the Ja Morant train, a lot of people waited to hop on it. The big conversations about that draft class was Zion. And now finally this season, people are finally starting to open up their eyes about Ja Morant. And he even could have an argument for being an all-star starter this season. He's definitely a lock for an all-star, which we'll get into that later. I'm going to have my full all-star ballot on this channel at some point here in the coming days. But Ja Morant has been absolutely insane. He really opened up the world's eyes with the win against the Warriors last night. So I want to start off with what Stephen A. Smith tweeted this morning that I woke up to, and I had to leave a little reply on it. But I feel like this is kind of how a lot of the world is feeling this morning after that win. So Stephen A. Smith says on Twitter, "My apologies to the Memphis Grizzlies. I've slept on these brothers. I know Ja Morant is special, but I love their size, athleticism, depth, and perimeter shooting. This team is a legitimate threat in the West. They have my attention," which I think they should already have had the attention of a lot of people. But a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, they haven't done this yet. Well, now they've beat the Warriors, who I'm not sure if going into the game they were still the number 1 seed, or they were at least a top 2 seed. They might have been tied for the 1 seed. I'm not exactly sure. But they've really opened up people's eyes. They really, looking at the final score of this game, I mean, the Warriors still had 108 points, but they really clamped the Warriors pretty good. They held Steph Curry to 38% shooting, even though he has kind of been in a slump. It's a tough task to ask someone to guard Steph Curry for a full game. Klay Thompson shot 38%. Andrew Wiggins, 41%. Nemanja Bjelica was the only one with that's a lie. A few of their bench players had over 60%, but none of them was really taking shots like that. It was really just, for the most part, they locked up Steph Curry, locked up Klay Thompson. Draymond Green is still out for a few games, and the Memphis Grizzlies come out of here with a big win. Over on the Grizzlies side of the ball, who else to lead the way other than Ja Morant with 29 points on 47% shooting. He even hit a 3, had 5 rebounds and 8 assists. This dude was absolutely insane last night. He's had a ton of incredible plays this season, especially down the stretch. You can even say he's playing at an MVP level. Is he in MVP conversations? Not really. That's kind of a complicated matter, but he is definitely playing at an MVP level this season, and he's really opening up the eyes of a lot of people that kind of slept on Ja Morant. Other contributors for this game, obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr., their second guy, didn't even have a good shooting night, but he did have 11 rebounds, played good defense with a couple steals and 3 blocks. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, had a good shooting night. Zaire Williams had a good game. Off the bench, Brandon Clark and Tyus Jones had big games with 14 from Clark and 17 from Jones, as well as several rebounds from both of them, 9 for Clark and 6 for Jones, and 8 assists from Tyus Jones. So all around, just a great team effort from the Grizzlies, and I absolutely love this team. I have been saying this the whole season. I've been on the Ja Morant train since his rookie season. I got this jersey shirt of him from his rookie season, and I have said from day one he would be the best player out of this draft class. So I don't want to spend too long on the Grizzlies because we do have a lot to talk about today, but just the biggest things that I want to talk about is just how well this team is molded together. Obviously, you got Ja Morant, who's budding into that superstar player. You have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's kind of turning into that second option. Which I think is a good core to build around for a potential championship team in the future. Notice how I said future. I'll get to that in a second. You got Desmond Bane, who was a later pick, who nobody really expected to break out of his shell as much as he did. Now, he didn't have a good game last night. He only shot 21.4%. but he's a guy who's going to shoot the ball well. He's going to play some good defense. He even had a play where he crossed Steph Curry yesterday. Absolutely insane. They have a deep bench with guys like Brandon Clark, Tyus Jones coming off the bench that we already talked about. But I mean, this team, if you ask people, what team does John Conchar play for? What team does D'Anthony Melton, people might know Melton. What team does Zaire Williams play for? Xavier Tillman. These guys getting 15 plus minutes a game. Even Zaire Williams started last night and had a big game. Most people couldn't tell you what team they played for. So they have a lot of these pieces that not a lot of people heard of, and they've just developed them well. For example, like I said, Desmond Bane. In terms of what Stephen A. Smith said and what a lot of people are speculating, I'm actually going to slow down a little bit. The hype is really real around the Grizzlies. This might be a little pessimistic. You can come at me in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but I still think the Grizzlies are not contenders this season. I said this season. I think they could be in the future, but I just don't see them winning a 7-game series right now against the Warriors, the Suns, or the Jazz. Who knows? They could surprise me. They could come out and do something like that, but I think that they're a really talented team. I've loved to see the progression from Ja Morant's rookie season. They went from the play-in, they were being the 9 seed, just barely missed out on the playoffs. And then last season, they made the play-in again, actually fought up from the 9 or the 10 seed. I don't remember. They won 2 games, though, made the playoffs. And then this season, obviously, they're looking strong at that, tied for the 3rd spot with the Jazz loss tonight against the Cavaliers. That puts them firmly at number 3. So regardless, I've loved to see the progression from this team, from the young players, from Ja Morant more specifically. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for this team for sure. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the Wizards fight that broke out yesterday between KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Montrezl Harrell. I wasn't watching this game because I'm going to be honest, every time I've watched the Washington Wizards, they've had a stinker. They're either missing a million threes. Bradley Beal's playing horrible. So I did not watch this game. And also, I'm sorry, but I haven't watched many Thunder games other than to watch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play. But reporting from Shams, he says, Wizards, KCP, and Montrezl Harrell got into a physical altercation at halftime of Tuesday night's home win over the Thunder and needed to be separated by teammates. And apparently Harrell and Pope took swings at each other. Neither of them connected and became entangled before teammates had to separate them. So I don't have much to say about this right now. But it is kind of funny. These guys have been teammates now for a couple years with the Lakers and then now with the Wizards. And the Wizards, I guess I could see how tensions could be flaring because they barely beat a team like the OKC Thunder, which is not a very good team. KCP didn't have the best shooting performance according to his stats. Shot 38%, but he hit 43% from three threes, 16 points. I guess that's not horrible. Montrezl Harrell had an okay game. I don't know. I don't know what was said. I'm gonna have to do more research on that, but I more or less just thought that was interesting. I do want to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had an incredible game though, shooting 13 for 22, hit a 3. He had 8 assists, 3 rebounds, and 32 points. So even though they took the L, like they will a lot of times this season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had an incredible game. And they've actually surprised me this season, being 13 and 27. I thought they were going to be horrible, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has really played well, really made a case for an all-star spot. I don't have him personally in my ballot, but I would not be surprised if he did make an all-star game. Anyways, I just wanted to touch on that because I thought it was interesting. All right, next thing I want to talk about, you knew it was coming. I got to talk about my Chicago Bulls, man. I'm pumped after last night's win. I know you could say, like, Noah, they played the Pistons. A 46-point win is a 46-point win. I don't care who you're playing against. They really, the biggest thing that I got out of this game, actually the whole team just looked incredible. Nikola, I saw something on Twitter, and I wasn't really like, I watched the entirety of the game. Now I kind of like later in the game stopped paying as much attention and started watching other games. I watched all of Bulls games, but like I said, this was a blowout. But in the third quarter, I believe was the quarter, Nikola Vucevic outscored the entire Pistons team in that quarter. He finished with 22 points. He had 8 rebounds and 4 assists with 2 steals. Obviously, our two-headed monster and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, neither one of them had massive games. I mean, LaVine only had 10 points last night on only 30% shooting. But he, if you watch the game, he really impacted the floor in more ways than just his shooting. And then DeMar DeRozan only had 20 points, but he shot the ball well. I say only 20 points, but that's below what he averages. But overall, it was a good game. Ayo played really well. He was really impressing me as a rookie. And I don't want to spend too much time on the Chicago Bulls, but it was a great game watching them. Like I said, watching them score 40 or beat a team by 46. I don't care who it is. That's still impressive, even if it is the 9-win Pistons team. All right, the next game I want to talk about is the Timberwolves versus the Pelicans. And I can admit I didn't watch this whole game, but I did watch the second half. And Brandon Ingram hit a crazy game winner. The Pelicans are really kind of putting it, getting the ball rolling now after a really slow start. They're finally starting to pick it up a little bit, even without Zion playing yet. Brandon Ingram last night had 33 points, including the game winner off a little inbounds pass. I believe it was to Jonas Valanciunas. I might have to go back and rewatch it. Hit him on the it was a deep three, nailed it with 0.3 seconds left to go. It was a good win for the Pelicans. This is a game that they should win. I'm not saying the Timberwolves are bad, but going into the season they had play-in aspirations. Now they're still gonna have to get a lot of work to actually get into that play-in spot still. But if this is a team that still wants to make the play-in, then, which they have said that they do want to continue to compete, this was a game they needed to win. Anthony Edwards had a big game with 28 points, Karl Anthony Towns with 26, and D'Lo with 18. What it comes down to for the Timberwolves and what it's always come down to is their defense, honestly. This season, they've really surprised me with their defense. They've actually been a good defensive team and a bad offensive team, which doesn't make any sense considering all three of their stars are known for their offense. I think getting guys on the team like Patrick Beverley and Jared Vanderbilt starting next to Cat, I think that really elevates their defense. But all in all, I mean, you're not going to win. It's harder to win a game when you're giving up 128 points to a team in regulation. Like I said, Brandon Ingram absolutely carried. Also has a case for an all-star. Like I said, I don't think he's on my ballot, but crazy game winner, and figured I have to at least touch on it. All right, the next game I want to talk about, we got two left, is the Phoenix Suns versus the Toronto Raptors. And the Raptors really surprised me in this game. The Raptors are currently sitting at, what record? They're currently 20-18. Not sure where that puts them in the standings, and I'm not going to look it up right now, honestly. But they really surprised me. They still lost this game by 4. But I hadn't really been tuning into Raptors games like that. I've been watching Freddie. I haven't been really paying much attention to Pascal Siakam. He had a really good game last night. Fred VanVleet had 21 points, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds. I have him on my all-star ballot, and I hope that people kind of wake up to him more. It's really just Raptors fans. I think they have a nice young core with OG Anunoby. Pascal's not super young, but you get what I'm saying. And Fred VanVleet. They need to trade Precious Achiuwa, though, or they need to at least upgrade that center position. They started Kim Birch last night. I mean, he played okay. He's not incredible, but Precious Achiuwa is having a horrible shooting season for a center who only shoots towards at the rim. Anyways, enough about the Raptors individually. They really shut the Suns down, holding them to only 99 points. This is a team that made the finals last year, and the Raptors hung in there. And the Suns are a healthy team. They got their entire starting lineup out there with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Ayton, Bridges, and Crowder. They held, let's see, Chris Paul actually had a pretty good scoring game, but I mean, they held Devin Booker to a 31% shooting night and 28% from 3, which is absolutely insane. DeAndre Ayton did his thing, dominating, but I mean, like I said, they don't have the best of centers, but they really surprised me with their defensive effort. Now, unfortunately, they kind of got clamped up too, but they kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to the Toronto Raptors. Okay, final game of the day. I'm not really going to talk about it at all. Clippers beat Nuggets by 2. Defensive game, 87-85. I am going to look at the box score at least. I did not watch this game either. I was a little bit busy yesterday. Aaron Gordon had shot almost 70% with 30 points, 12 rebounds and assists. Jokic had 21, played amazing as usual, almost a triple-double. And it looks like they just didn't really get much help from the rest of their team. Monte Morris had a good game, I guess, but it looks like they just didn't have help from the rest of their team. You look over at the Clippers, who did it for them? Amir Coffey out of everybody. Played 43 minutes and led the team in scoring with 18. Very low scoring game. Like I said, I did not watch this game. I would have put my money on the Nuggets. I would have been wrong. All right, so that's all the games for last night, but I do want to hit on a couple more points. One of them being, I don't have a lot to say about this yet. I haven't really read on it. I just got out of class and I'm recording this video, but I was very, very excited about the Grizzlies win and want to talk about the Wizards fight. But I also did see these two reports I want to talk about. Okay, so both of these reports come from The Score on Instagram. I don't know how reputable these, or how correct these reports are. The Score is typically a pretty reputable page. But so the first is Kyrie Irving. They say the Nets could make unvaccinated Kyrie Irving available for home games if they're willing to pay a small fine. And the breakdown for this is the first time he played, it would be a warning. The second time would be $1,000 fine. Third time, $2,000. Fourth time, $5,000. And then fifth and beyond, they'd pay $5,000 every time he played at home, which on the grand scheme of things, I mean, is not that much. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, you know, I think in terms of skill and how they should, like, if they want to win games, this is exactly what they do. It's not that much of a fine for a basketball organization, and it would really help them elevate their play, because James Harden's kind of slowing down again. He revved it up there for a little bit. He's slowing down again. Patty Mills had been playing absolutely insane. You shouldn't have expected him to keep up that production because he's kind of struggled these past couple games. So having Kyrie back in lineup obviously would help a ton, and you especially want him from the playoffs. I think when you get to the playoffs, you don't even think about this. You definitely do it, but I think they definitely should pay the fine. I don't know if there's a way they can make him pay the fine. Probably not, but I wonder if they could. Regardless, this is good news for Brooklyn. Like I said, I don't know if they will do it because I know they would want him to get vaccinated, so I wonder if they're still going to push his vaccination at least for a couple months. But this is really good news for Brooklyn to know that it comes down to the playoffs, you absolutely need him to play, and there is a way that you can get him to play. Okay, and the final thing that I want to talk about, I just realized this camera's been up high this whole time. I hope that wasn't horrible. But I actually just saw this literally right before I hit record on this video, and I knew I had to talk about it. This is also on the Score's Instagram. It says, report, the Clippers are operating under the possibility that Paul George may miss the rest of the season with an elbow injury. Wow. So Paul George has been injured for, I don't know how long at this point. It's been a minute, but I never thought that he'd have the possibility of missing the rest of the season. So I don't know if this is just them being pessimistic or if it looks like he might actually miss the rest of the season. Regardless, it's a huge blow for the Clippers. I don't know if this would mean him coming back for playoffs, because I did see somewhere a couple weeks ago, I don't remember where, you'll have to fact check it, but I saw somewhere that Kawhi Leonard, they're getting hopeful that he might be back even before the playoffs, but they're very hopeful he would be back for the playoffs. I mean, without Paul George, is this team a playoff team? I said they scored 87 points last night. I guess they beat the Nuggets, which is a good team. But, I mean, is this team a playoff team without Paul George and Kawhi? George was having an incredible season so far. Before he got injured, he'd have been an all-star starter. I don't know. Interesting to think about. And it just sucks for the Clippers because this is a team, a few years ago when they signed Paul George and Kawhi, this is a team that had championship aspirations and just missed the conference finals the first year with this core. Last year, they got there, but Kawhi had already gotten injured, and they lost to the Suns. Actually still impressed me, though. This year was another year I thought they could compete. If Paul George could will them to a good playoff spot, Kawhi could come back, and who knows what could happen. But, man. All right, so that's all for today. A lot to talk about. I couldn't go super in-depth into a lot of things. I try to go deep in-depth into the Memphis Grizzlies. For the most part, though, didn't really get to go super in depth. Let me know, would you guys rather in the future me just pick a couple things to talk about and go deeper in depth, or would you rather me spend time talking about everything like I tried to today? I don't know, my brain was kind of jumbled up, super rambly, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the Memphis Grizzlies, Kyrie Irving, the Paul George, any of the things. Let me know. If you know more about the Washington Wizards situation, I got to read up on it more, but I thought that was interesting. We have a good slate of games tonight. I'm actually going to go to that real quick. The games I'm excited for, Philly versus Charlotte. I got Philly winning that game. Another good game, Heat versus Hawks maybe. That's a game that I would want the Hawks to win, but I don't know. The Heat have been playing really well. Mavs versus Knicks. Probably give it to the Mavs. Jazz versus Cavs. I'll give it to the Jazz, but the Cavs have been no joke. They've been one of my favorite teams to watch this season. Lakers versus Kings. I'm actually kind of excited to watch. And then Bulls versus Nets, obviously the best game of the night, the nationally televised game. If it's an incredible game, I might be on to talk about it tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyways, leave a like if you found anything that you liked in this video. Subscribe to see more content, and I think this will probably be a longer video. Like I said, I try not to ramble too much about one thing in particular, but let me know if that's something you like to see in the future instead of me talking about everything. So anyways, peace.